Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of CLX Gaming's Foundry Live. I'm your host, DJ BluePDX, and we're going to take you inside a custom build and assemble it from the ground up. Joining me, of course, right now, our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and our master builder, Christian Garrett. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, we're doing good.
Doing good, DJ.
Awesome. So today we've got something a little bit different. Oftentimes we're building those custom builds for our for people who've ordered them offline, seeing if we can make sure that we've got it going for them. But today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do something internally.
Yeah, we've got a really exciting build today. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it, so I'm glad that we are. We've got a Ryzen 9 7950X build. So very excited about that. That released today. So we're super excited to get this thing built in our lab and see what kind of numbers we can get.
Yeah, for sure.
This will be interesting. I dig it. Well, let's go ahead and start with what we're going to put in.
Alrighty, so yeah, we'll do the rundown parts just like it was a regular build. So obviously our processor is going to be the Ryzen 9 7950X. We'll get that on the shot there. Definitely the heat spreader looks a lot differently on this CPU, so pretty easy to tell it's the next gen that way.
Yeah, it's LGA now.
LGA, so no pins. You can throw that thing on the ground and no worries.
What?
Just kidding, don't do that.
What do you mean by... Okay, we're gonna have a conversation about no pins.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get into that. And cooling that, we've got our Phanteks 360 here. It's this Glacier 1. This is the white edition. I know the image on the box is black, but this one will be white. We're going with a white build today. This is a really nice cooler.
Awesome.
And for our motherboard, we've got a Gigabyte Aorus X670E Aorus Master.
Those things are hardcore.
These are. That box is heavy. I'm really excited to get that thing out. I have not seen it yet. So for our memory, we've got 2 sticks of 16 gig 5600 Kingston Fury DDR5.
Nice.
And the drive we're going to be using is a Samsung 1 terabyte 980 Pro.
Okay.
M.2 NVMe. For our video card, we've also got a Gigabyte Aorus 3090. Really nice, beefy, thick card
That
here.
is a monster of a card.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
There we
All right.
go. And for our power supply, we've got a Phanteks AMP 1000 watt white edition, 80 plus gold, fully modular power supply here.
I'm glad it's a fully modular because after the last time of doing a non-modular,
Yeah, so am
Yeah,
I.
Christian will be pretty
Watching-
happy about this.
So am I.
watching Christian just sweat, I was like, so
Yeah.
many cords, so many cables.
No kidding.
Not fun.
And we will be filling this thing up with fans. We've got 10 of our white ring fans here. These are the Gamdias Aeolus. These ones will look real nice with the build. The case we decided to use is the Lian 011 XL. Definitely seen us build this on the show before. So, let me get it here. And we will I guess we'll start getting it going. I'll take
Yep.
the panels off and Christian can start with the board. Obviously we got a lot to talk about on this build, so
Yeah.
let's get right into it.
And of course, if you're watching in the audience and you have questions, which just please feel free to ask. We're here to answer all of your questions as we roll through this. So first things first, I would just like to say that this build is almost as awesome. It got something almost as awesome as I got.
That's right.
Because in the process of us getting me my CLX t-shirts, right? Because now I'm on brand. Okay, I get a package from Paul that said, because they were like, yeah, we're gonna send you your stuff in 2 days, and this is what I got.
Look at that. 3090 Ti.
And I thought, what? Why am I getting a 3090 Ti? What's going on here? And then I lifted it up and went, nope, he put the t-shirts inside the box. That's the greatest, honestly, one of the greatest trolls I've ever had. Because I was as excited as I was laughing.
I thought it was pretty,
well, you got me.
Proud of it.
This is great. All right, so let's look. First things first, I want to talk about before you get it put on there, Christian,
Yeah.
the processor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, now you guys said it's pinless, and for those people who don't know what pinless means, what is that? What's the difference between a pinned CPU and a non-pinned CPU.
Yeah, so you can see on the board here, we're obviously showing you the board and the proc here. So on previous AMD CPUs, there would actually be physical short pins on every one of those little gold dots that you can see. And those would plug into the socket, and that's how it would make its contact with the motherboard. Well, with this new generation, they're using LGA, which is land grid array. So our pins are actually on the CPU socket here, and the CPU is flat. So that's how it will make contact.
No kidding. That is so, and you know, that goes in, that kind of falls right in line with that conversation we had about that other the other AMD processor that we built that one time when it's all the layers that were just they're just in contact. That's gorgeous. It's incredible. I'm always very impressed with what AMD comes out with and the way that they have managed to continue to innovate and evolve in the processor business. Getting want you to set that down. That's makes it look so easy. So that just fits underneath a cap, it looks like. Oh no, the cap comes off. There you go.
Yeah, so that like tray around it, you can see that is what is putting pressure on the CPU into the socket. And then what he's taking off right now are the brackets for a cooler. You could probably put a Prism and air cooler on there if you wanted, and that's what those brackets are for. With the all-in-one that we're installing, we're going to take those brackets out. We'll leave the black backplate on there, right, Christian?
Yeah.
The backplate is under the board right now, and that'll stay on, and we'll use that to mount our AIO.
Awesome. All right. And while we're looking at this here, that's a beefy motherboard. There's a lot of stuff on that motherboard. Let's take a look at what the motherboard is. It is an X670E, the master edition of the Aorus motherboard, and this has got a lot of bells and whistles. But let's go ahead and start by talking about all of the plating. Obviously, you can see the plating in that top-down shot on the side shots. All the different heat sinks. Tell us a little bit about what heat sinks are there and some of the advantages to the way that this board is assembled.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, there's a lot going on with this board. There's a lot of metal on here. This is a very high-end board, so you know most likely it's going to be used to run high-end components at high speeds. So we've got very dense heat sinks here up at the top and around. With these fins in here, you can see that pretty well there. That's for our VRMs for help cooling the CPU VRMs. And then below that, where Christian's putting in the M.2 right now, we have a bunch of M.2 covers that also have heat sinks around those as well. And that's the
biggest one.
That is huge for that's the M.2 cover right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's huge. We've seen some that are pretty
Good
big, maybe
grief.
comparable to that, but I think that's the biggest one I've seen.
Yeah, I think so.
So that is a thick
Now-
boy right there.
And the advantage of that, obviously, being that it's going to keep that M.2 exceedingly, yeah, that thing is thick, exceedingly cool, which is always great. But wow, that is a big, chunky monkey right there.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's awesome. This also has some other interesting advantages to it. So one of the, I would say, selling points of it is it's got a twin 16+2+2 digital VRM design, and 105 amp power stage. What exactly are they referring to right there?
Yeah, so that refers to essentially the power delivery throughout the board to the components that are mounted on it, and that's basically like a filtering process to deliver clean, smooth power for just better performance and just consistent voltage and wattage everywhere.
Nice.
So
It also has, it says it has a low loss PCB for PCIe 5.
that's interesting.
As far as the cooling goes, it does have what's considered to be an advanced thermal design, multiple different fin arrays that are part of the MSI, or the Gigabyte design on these things. Which Gigabyte's been constantly coming up with. I was like, they've been constantly coming up with new stuff and new ways of expanding your possibility and options for these. What are some other interesting features that you've noticed just as we're watching Christian put all the basics in?
So I'll show you my favorite thing about this board. So right here, these are obviously our PCIe slots, right? We've got our latch here, and when this card goes in, We might be able to switch to the side shot here. This might be a little bit better. I'm going to show this. So I'm installing this card here, and I want to kind of see this latch right here. So once we get this card installed correctly, that latch is going to go up, and that's going to lock this card in place. Now,
is that what they call the Easy Latch?
Yes.
Easy Latch Plus?
The Easy Latch is this button right here. So if I want to take this card out, you got to push down on this lever here to pop the card out. Well, that can be kind of tough once we get the cooler in here in a giant card like this, but this board has a button right here that I can just push to unlock the slot, and it'll come out.
That's amazing.
That's my favorite thing about this board. I love that design. I hope we see that across a lot of boards in the future.
Makes it a lot easier.
Congratulations, Gigabyte. You just beat everybody else out. Nice. That's impressive.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I mean, it's not like a super tech edition on there, you know, it's just a plastic button, you know, connected to that latch, but it really does, we really do appreciate that. Like
yeah. Well, and it's interesting because it's one of those things, you know, we see these innovations in technology in our ability to make, I would say, make assembling PCs easier and easier over the years, but that's one of those things where you go, huh, it's funny that it took us this long to come up with that idea.
Yeah, it really is.
We as humans need to go a little bit farther in, which is impressive. It's got a multiple function set by BIOS that are all the way around, and a ton of different connectors, multiple PCIe 5, PCIe 4, M.2 designs. Obviously PCIe 5, it's the latest and greatest. Do we know anything about its backwards compatibility? What, if anything, are there advantages to having a PCIe 5 versus a PCIe 4? Is it just speeds?
Yeah, so you're going to get better speeds through 5, but it is backwards compatible, which is nice too.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. Well, this has a plethora of PCIe slots on it. And also, just because I haven't yet explained this, Christian, what are you doing with the board, as always, in the beginning?
Okay, so right now I'm just prepping my board, getting my retention kit going for my all-in-one cooler. So I'll just get my board prepped as much as I can before I throw it in the case. Throw my processor and the M.2s in, throw my RAM sticks in, and retention kit for the all-in-one. And after all that, I'll be ready to throw her into the case.
And this is both of our first time doing an AM5, so this retention kit is a little new.
Bear with me, please.
Yeah, we're kind of learning as we go as well.
And when you say retention kit, what exactly does that, explain what that does and what it's used for and why they're different?
Yes, the retention kit is what's going to attach the AIO pump to the socket itself or to the board. So this will come with your AIOs are going to come with a few different retention kits in them to just match whatever socket. If you got an Intel board or 2066 or 115X or AM4 or AM5, it'll have the hardware to use to mount it to all of those. So we've opened up our AIO, picked out the AM5 hardware, and that's what we're installing right now.
Got it.
It does look like this AIO comes with this plate installed here. This is for Intel, so I'm going to take that off and we're going to install the AMD one that comes with it. Very easy, just one quick turn like that and it's out.
Interesting. So much fun. And are you going to be using the flux paste on this, or?
We're not going to use the flux paste starting out, but we are going to get this into the lab and see what kind of numbers we can get and what temperatures. So I'm sure we will eventually, we'll do tests with both thermal paste.
Awesome. Speaking of numbers, let's talk about the number of USB ports on this board. There's actually a lot of ports on this board, and it's pretty excessive. I would say, if I say excessive, it comes across as being judgmental. It's not excessive, it's just more than normal. So starting at the top, on the back IO port, which of course, for anybody who's wondering, that's that piece of the motherboard that sticks out the back of your PC where you plug all the ports in. This has not only the Intel Wi-Fi 6E, it's also got Bluetooth 5.3. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that is the latest version of Bluetooth.
Yeah, this thing has got the latest version of a lot on here. It's all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, it has a push-button Q-Flash Plus, so that you can flash your flash everything right there from the back of it. You don't really have to go in and do anything weird with pins and I don't even know what they're
Or any
called.
jumpers or anything like that.
Jumpers.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. It does come with it's got now. Most motherboards have one single video out. That's it. This is the first one I've seen where it's got not only HDMI, but it's also got a display port.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sign of just how the technology is improving. You know, running dual monitor setups off, you know, onboard graphics. Pretty crazy stuff.
And that's incredible. But there's a third option on here. So one of the USB 3.2 Type-Cs is actually, it also has a DisplayPort alt mode. So you can run a mini DisplayPort from a USB-C connector and power a monitor that way.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I think that's the first time I've seen that. So.
Yeah, I've never seen it. It also has a standard Mighty Endeavors. Welcome. We've also got a standard Type-C on for USB 3.2, and then we have 4 different 3.2 Gen 2 Type A's. We have 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A's, and then an Intel 2.5 gigabyte LAN port for an Ethernet. It's also got multiple front side USB Type-Cs that are available. So yeah, and Mighty Endeavor, you bring up a very good point. Not all USB-C connectors have that. You're right. This is identified. It's the top one, and you'll see where it says DP USB-C DP/. So that's the display port moniker. It's the USB-C port directly below the HDMI and display port full size ports. So, which is interesting. It also comes with an IR connectivity. You've obviously got your mini jack lines for mic and line out, which is great. What? Did I say their name wrong? Gigabyte.
Sounds right to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I call it a gigabyte sometimes because that joke never gets old.
Yeah. 2.5, yeah. Gig, so it's got a 2.5 gig line. It does have multiple different RGBs on it, so it's got something called RGB Fusion. Does that mean it's like it's just going to integrate everything on the board with the rest of the lighting in the system?
Right. Yes, I believe that's the fusion. If the other components do have the fusion capability as well, then yes.
Yeah, and 6 SATA 6 gigs, 6 gig ports on there, so you can. There's a lot of connectivity on this when it comes to what you can attach to it, whether it's hard drives or more. As we're looking over here on this shot, you can see he's getting all the basics in, getting the board up and running. Christian, anything to note about this board when it comes to assembling, mounting, ease of use?
Nothing too much different. There is one thing with that massive M.2 cover. It will cover one of your screws for your motherboard. So that's something that you could miss if you don't take off this heatsink, and that could lead to issues if you don't get a screw in that standoff. So I guess that is a little different, something to look out for on this motherboard. Make sure you get the screwed in.
Gotcha.
Don't forget it.
As we're peeking over there, so the question that came in was what kind of AIO cooler are we using? It is 360 by Phanteks. It's a white Phanteks Glacier, as already just put in the chat. So that should provide enough cooling. We got 10 fans going into this, all coming from Gamdias. So that way we'll keep this thing as cool as possible.
Yeah,
And you're doing a standard push alignment on those fans into the radiator.
Yep. We were doing a push out the top of the case. We've had a lot of good performance with these Phanteks 360 all-in-ones. Just getting lower CPU temperatures with them.
One thing to note about this board is that it does have it's got a max of of 128 gigs, but it is DDR5 only. Is that pretty standard?
I think it's going to be standard for X670. I'm not even sure if they're even going to have a DDR4 version. Have you heard, Christian?
Yeah.
I believe it's only DDR5.
That's what I think too. So,
yeah.
Yep, this will just be DDR5 for this chipset.
Well, and speaking of that chipset, obviously the AM5 is for anything, if I'm not mistaken, from the 7000 series on up, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. So this is and this is pretty much a powerhouse when it comes to processors, as far as what it can do. Let's talk a little bit about some of the features of this. Obviously, it's 16 cores, 32 threads. What are some of the nice things about this processor?
Yeah, so this processor is a beast. Its base clock speed is 4.5 with a boost clock of up to 5.7, which is crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't even know if boost clocks usually go up to 4.5 the base on this. So this is and I was just doing some research too before the show, as much as I could about this since it comes out today. But there has been people who have been able to get all cores boosting up to that 5.7. So every core at 5.7. So that's what we're gonna try to do here. And in order to get that comes down to your cooling solution. So that's why we're going with this Phanteks 360. Once we get this in the lab, we'll see though. I know that we will get all cores to 5.7. Just going to be a matter of what we have to do to get it there.
Interesting. It's always fascinates me when you get, when you really start pushing a processor to a point where it's going to be emitting that much power and being able to process that many things at once. Mm-hmm. And AMDs are great when it comes to processing. I have an AMD Ryzen 5, I believe, 3600X in my streaming PC, and I'm always impressed with the fact that it doesn't matter how much, I've got 3 monitors going, and it's got a 1070 on it, and I barely ever hit 30, maybe 40% on usage with all that software open and my streaming software open because I'm gaming on the other machine. It's always wild to me how efficient that processor is.
Yeah, it is. We've seen with AMD's Ryzen on all the gens, it's been pretty impressive what they're doing.
And as you can see over there, Paul, Christian's getting everything kind of stacked in. We're pulling out the framework for the fans right now. Obviously, the O11 is one of the most popular frames, I believe, that you assembled, right?
Yeah, for sure. The O11 and the Evolve X are probably the most frequent RAWs that we see come through. We really like the Evolve X as well. We really like the O11. It kind of seems like we're leaning more towards the O11 recently, but they're both really great cases, well designed, really good to build in.
Nice. So that's going on there. Getting the fans up. We've got, obviously, so to just reiterate our cooling process, we're going to do 3 from the bottom, 3 on the top with the radiator, and then where will the rest go?
You'll have 3 right here.
3 in the back there, and then 1 right here for exhaust. Yep.
Oh, I did notice that you did take that. You took the rear panel off. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I missed that question. Sorry about that, Mighty Endeavor. Yes, that is the Phanteks AMP 1000 watt 80 plus gold.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, the testing that's going to be done here is a great way of just seeing how much power it pulls.
Yeah. And
what else can be added into it. So, which is good stuff. Mighty Never says we really have to thank TSMC on their research for the 5N process. I'm not even sure what that's referring to. It is a 3090 that we're putting in there, an Aorus 3090, and these are the Gamdias fans. So here's a question: as far as your fan profiles, I notice on my PCs that I've got fan profiles that talk about, and I just always leave it on auto.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're but the one thing I've noticed is that on my gaming PC, it tends to get really hot to the point where I've had to vent the side of it because it gets so hot. Should I be changing those fans? That's something that users should be able to do, is to change the speed of those fans so that it cools faster?
It could be. It could help you out there. Now, if you do have them on auto, and your case is getting very hot, they're probably running at 100% then. But you could go in and change your fan settings to have them all running at max all the time, and that way, right when you turn it on, they'll be running at max. It might keep it cool for longer than when they're trying to be quiet, and then it heats up.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Look, it's the little things. Those little things you never know whether or not you're supposed to touch it, whether you can touch it. All right, so we're getting those fans up in there. One of the great features of this case is all of the filtration and the air guards. Can you show us a little bit about what those do and how they work?
Yeah, so let me show you the back panel here. So this has two magnetic filters here. You can see them. This goes on the back of the case where the power supply mounts, where all those wires are hanging out that you can see. And these, like I said, are just magnetic. They just come out like that. So it has these for the back. There's another magnetic filter on the top. And then for the bottom where our intake is, there's another dust filter. This one just slides out of the case like this. It looks a little different than the others, but same concept. It's not magnetic. There is a tray in the bottom that this does slide into. But it's just that easy right here.
Interesting. Yeah. Sweet. All right, so now we're getting into the second, the back group. So each group of fans mounts onto a frame. Is that right, Christian? With the exception of the rear.
I guess
technically, yeah. The bottom part is the only tray that comes out.
It's a removable, yeah.
Yeah, it's the only tray that's
okay.
removable. So
I'll be going on the frame of the case is where I'll attach the rest of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, so we'll have intake coming in through the back and the bottom in this config, and then exhausting out the top and the rear.
Perfect. As far as the operating system is concerned, we've already seen it installed. It's already in underneath the cover, and that is the 1TB Samsung 980 Pro PCIe 4.0 NVMe.
Mm-hmm.
So there are two different versions of the 980. There's the 980 and the 980 Pro. What's the difference between those two?
Right, so the differences between the two are going to come down to your read and write speeds. I don't have those numbers right off the top of my head, but your Pro is going to have a better read and write speed than the Evo does.
Gotcha.
So that's definitely something to look at. Obviously, budget is the concern there. If you're trying to save a few bucks, the 980 Evo is also a great drive as well.
Looks like the 980 Pro has a 7,000 millisecond read speed and a 5,000 millisecond write speed. So interesting. And that compared to, let me go down to the, I would say the brother of that one, which is right, should be, possibly, probably, perhaps. When you look for something, you can't find it, it's probably right in front of your face.
Probably, scrolled past it or something already.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so the regular 980. Oh, wow. Okay. Huge difference. Massive difference. The standard 980, the non-pro version of that, has a 3,500 read speed and a 3,000 write speed. So that's a significant difference. That's double the read speed.
Yeah, that is. That's impressive.
And almost double the write speed. That's so yeah. There's definitely a significant reason to go with the Pro if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Good grief. Very interesting. And I think the difference between the two of them is like, I don't know, 40, 45 bucks. Something to that effect.
Yeah, that's not too bad for that much speed difference there.
Yeah, that's incredible. Rowdy JTV in the house. Welcome.
Hey.
Aw, thank you so much. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you all here. We are going to be putting, now, since this is going to be going into the testing facility, which operating system are you going to be using for this?
So initially we're going to go with Windows 11 Home. That way we're testing this with the most up-to-date OS, but as we're testing it, we'll see those numbers, and then we'll go back to 10 and see what we get there. We'd like to do it on both, and we'd like to start with the latest operating system first, in case there's any issues with drivers or anything like that. We can find that out there.
What are some of the other elements that you're going to be testing and seeing here?
So the first things that we're going to do, we're going to run our Cinebench and Furmark. We're probably going to be doing those two. We're just going to be, we're going to start out with stress testing it, see what clock speeds we can get, how long we can keep it at that boost clock, and if we can get all the cores up to that 5.7 speed. And then going from there, we'll play some games on it and just see how it performs.
Nice. Awesome. And of course, part of that testing is also something that's done with any of the custom builds that any of our customers order. There's an entire 12-hour process of testing that goes on with your PC.
Right, yeah. So if this was a customer's computer right here, once we got done building it, it would go into our testing and integration department. And that's where we're going to load the operating systems, initialize all the drive, load any games the customer may want, internet browser, that stuff. And then once we get that all prepared, we're going to stress test the system for 12 hours. Usually if a component is going to fail, it's going to be right on startup, initially in that burn-in, or in that burn-in process. So we've had a lot of luck with that, with doing the burn-ins. It's obviously saved customers a lot of hassle with having to return their machine because a component failed or something like that. So it's a really good process we have.
Well, it also it significantly, I would say it solidifies that concept of not only thoroughness but loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, you've got,
we want to make sure
taking
they're
the time
getting a good product. You know.
Yeah. Roddy J, you're going to be at TwitchCon. We're going to be at TwitchCon, which is going to be a lot of fun, as I've mentioned. Some exciting stuff in the works for TwitchCon. Can't talk about it yet, super secret. But yeah,
I know there's some cool stuff that's going to happen. So
yeah, I am super excited.
Yeah.
I'm also super excited because the greatest wing joint in all the world is in San Diego.
Really?
And I have I went and searched wing joints when I was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Still could not find anything that beats Bub's the Ballpark. And it's like walking distance from the ballpark and the convention center. And they have the best wings. And it's not just like, oh, they make wings. They've got like 40, 50 different sauces.
Okay.
And that you can get them baked, fried. They're just everything you could think of.
Have you ever watched that show, Hot Ones?
Oh yeah, they do a sweet chili. They do a plum sauce based one. They've got a Thai basil one. It's incredible. Yeah, sushi places in San Diego are absolutely bar none rocking. But I'll say this about Bub's Wings. When I was there for TwitchCon, I believe it was the second TwitchCon, so that would have been 2016. We went there once. Me and my whole group of the Griffballers went there, and we tried going someplace else the next day and realized, nope, we're just going to go back to Bub's. And we ate at Bub's for like 5 days straight. It was ridiculous. All right, so right now you've got all the fans onto the cooler. And again, this is a push system, so you're pushing the air through the radiator.
Mm-hmm.
Radiator obviously sitting on top, going to be venting all that heat from the processor straight out the top, which is very helpful. And you've got the additional exhaust that'll be going on the back, and the three that are mounted, as you can see in the shot, the three that are mounted on the side. Now, those are going to be blowing towards the back, correct?
Are those the ones to the right of the motherboard? Those ones? Is that one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are going to be sucking air in through the back. So that'll be bringing air into the case. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So we have 3 extra intake fans on this build. Those are the 3 that we don't always see. You know, I believe a lot of the builds that we've done are 7 fans with 3 in the bottom, 3 in the top, and 1 in the back.
Yeah.
So.
The only way to get more than that is a push-pull.
Right, yeah. Maybe we'll do that one of these days.
One of those is coming. There we go. So we're getting this on here. And have you already... Is this a situation... I guess this is going to sound like a stupid question, but we've talked about the thermal paste before, and the different types and kinds. Is thermal paste the same process on processors regardless of who makes them, or is there a different procedure for AMD than there is for Intel?
No, I would say it's the same process. You might use a little bit more or less depending on which socket you got. AMD and Intel both have their larger surface area CPUs, Intel's being the 2066 and AMD's being Threadripper. But the 11.5X and these AM5 chips are roughly the same, so I would still use a piece-size drop on the processor here.
Rowdy J asks, what's the most expensive computer CLX has ever built? I would imagine that's got to be something with an open
It'd
loop
definitely be
cooling
one
system.
of our open loop systems. Yeah, if we're talking most expensive for a customer or most expensive just to see what we can do, those are probably a little bit different.
I know I personally have built a $20,000 open loop, so.
Good grief.
Yeah, our Intel Extreme Rig challenge for 2018, I believe, we did a custom Lian Lee desk, and I know that was up there. Might have been even more, but wouldn't be too much higher than that. So, yeah, you can get pretty crazy if you just wanna mess around on our website too. We all do it here. We're like, what's the most crazy PC I can build?
Yeah, it is a weird game. It is a weird game to play, but I will find myself doing it periodically. Like, what else can I put on this thing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I get
And then
that
realizing,
number
like,
higher?
yeah, let's see how much we can do. But then again, there's only so much that you can actually, functionally put in there and then use. But now we did mention the expense of an open loop system. Let's talk a little bit. So for those who don't know, what the difference is between an AIO closed loop versus an open loop where the tubes are actually crafted.
Yeah, so this is an AIO or a closed loop system that we're doing here, and what that refers to, AIO means all in one. So our liquid cooler, this is it. This is our pump, our radiator, our tubes here. We will not open this up. The fluid comes already in it. So we don't have to add or adjust or anything like that. Like I said, that's our closed loop system because we're not going to open it up. Now an open loop system is either going to have soft or hard tubes. Typically we do hard tubes here. We have seen some soft tubes. And we will custom bend those. They'll have some distro plates, some blocks that will actually mount to the motherboard and to the GPU, depending if you want a CPU or GPU loop. And those are all open, so we get all those components installed, the tubes bent, everything like that, and then once we're ready, we'll fill the radiator with fluid and turn it on and adjust as we need there. So that's what the open loop is. It is an open system that we do add to. Those are definitely the coolest looking machines, and we have seen orders for quite a few of those, so it's been pretty cool to see those in our warehouse.
Yeah, that sounds amazing until you have to get to the point of, hey, periodically you're gonna have to change out the fluid, and then that's when my panic starts setting in, because I'm like, I know electronics and liquids are not two things that should ever be together, and yet I've got liquids inside the PC. So I'm just like, what's happening?
That's when you just send it in to us, DJ. We'll take care of all of that, man.
All right. Maybe I should have gotten an open loop system.
There you go,
yeah. One thing I will say that we've got going on right now, speaking of which, if you are looking to get into a PC, now's the time to do it. We've got a double up promo. 2 times RAM and 2 times your SSD. So if you get 16 gigs of RAM, we'll punch it with 32. You get a 500 gigabyte hard drive, we'll pump it up to a terabyte. So, and that's all available now through the in the website systems. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit.
Yeah, Christmas is right around the corner. So.
Yeah,
right?
up quick.
I started putting a list together, so.
It's hard to believe that it's been, we're already into September of 2022.
It is.
And I'm laughing because I'm talking with a friend of mine from high school, one of the few people like you keep in touch from high school, and we're both kind of flipping out because we had this huge conversation in high school our senior year, laughing about what it would be like because I graduated in '94, so we were getting close to 2000, but talking about what the world would be like in the 20s, and I will say we were vastly overconfident about about what we felt would be the state of technology and travel in the year 2022, 2023, and
Yeah, where's the flying
I will
cars
say
at?
we were way off.
It always
We
makes me
were
laugh, like
way
watching
off.
old movies and they go into the future.
Like
and
Back
it's
to the Future.
2025.
You're like, oh, that's today.
Yeah.
And we got TikToks.
Yeah. Right? That's what we got. Rowdy said, next question is, does the 20,000 PC outperform the $5,000 PC, or is all the extra money spent on the expensive PC just for the design?
That's a really good question. So obviously it would depend on the internal components of both of those machines. But if you're maxing out, let's say you're going with as cheap as possible for the best components out there. So you're doing dual 3090 Ti's on something just crazy. Now, if you want to open loop that is going to increase the cost a whole lot, and the price per performance there gets a little smaller. So obviously with an open loop system, it is a lot more expensive, but there is a lot more fluid and it does cool a lot better. So your PC will run a lot cooler having an open loop system, but most of that price comes into our design and the labor involved and just bending the tubes and designing the whole machine.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
So if you're just looking at how many frames am I getting in Minecraft, you know, you'll see some difference, but it won't be huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also depends on what you're using the PC for. You know, it's kind of hard to just judge. You know, is this the same as this? Because it's all about what are you using it for. Maybe you've got a high-end workstation where all that extra cooling from an open loop system does really help you out. You know, so it's all whatever you're intending to use the machine for.
Yeah. Because they're like, and I would imagine that, for example, you go with if you're on the Intel side and you want to go with something extreme, they've got the 12900s over there, but you come over to the AMD side, you've got the Ryzen 7s, the Ryzen 9s, and then you have the AMD Threadrippers, which skyrocket in price. When you think about that, like the Threadripper, I believe it's a 3990X, is a 64-core processor. That's absurd. I think those things start right about the $6,600 range. And they're difficult to get. But yeah, it's wild to think about.
Just kind of what you're talking about, though. It depends on what the application is. You don't really want to game on.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to game on a Threadripper. You know, you spend all that money on a Threadripper, and then you could be getting better performance if you had your system a little bit more optimized.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something we help out with too. If you're configuring a machine and you know you're not quite sure, obviously our configurator helps out so that you can't pick the wrong parts together. But if you're still not sure and you've got your thing together, send us a message, give us a call. We can definitely you know figure out what you're using it for and help you optimize it better.
Yep, which is one of the best things about the customer service and technical support here. And it's interesting because like the Threadripper, the only experience I have with a Threadripper is in music and video production. So when you're, you know, when you've got multiple tracks, you've got all the different digital audio workstations, you've got the editing stations, and it's all pumping in through one system. That's when you need something extreme with like 32 or 64 cores, and it's Oh, and Rowdy, that's the whole reason why we do this show. Ask questions away. There are no dumb questions. Anytime somebody says, I hate to feel like it's a stupid question, but you have to think about the fact that there was a boardroom at some point with a studio, and they said, hey, what if we made a movie about sharks and tornadoes? And it became a $1 billion franchise. So again, no stupid questions. It's there's no such thing after that movie came out.
You know, I play a lot of Magic the Gathering. I got this new deck that I just played with last week, and there's a card in there called Shark Typhoon. And you basically create flying sharks and use them to attack your enemies.
Oh
it's
my
good.
gosh.
So it's even in that
hilarious.
World. Yeah. Sharks and natural disasters.
Right? Because what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
When you put it that way, it's so right. Yeah. So again, the Threadrippers are great for doing processing media. It's it's also great for managing a server if you're networking a bunch of workstations. If you're an indie game dev, might have their master server be something like that with the Threadripper on it, because it's processing everything into and out of the main system. But yeah, I'm looking at this thing already, and I put this on the, where is the chassis? On the Raw Elite Super Tower Black. And it's just those two. It's already at 7,200, and I haven't even gotten to the graphics card yet.
Oh, really? Yeah, and in that
like,
Elite
well,
too, it can fit so many fans. You could add a lot to the price that way as well.
Yeah. Well, and if you did dual GPUs, I mean,
Whew, yeah.
you could technically do that. That's a hot bunch of money right there. And of course, this is telling me it needs a lot of power.
Yeah, well, you can do monthly payments with a firm, DJ. So there you go.
That's a great point. So, yeah. Upgrade. So Rowdy says upgrades are in my near future. Absolutely. I'm guessing we'll see what's new at TwitchCon. Yeah, and I have to point out, Ivory made a comment earlier that the 12,900 is so this month, because next month is well, no, is it not? That's not next month. But the 13,900 is coming, from everything we've heard. So, I know. All of a sudden, the 12,900 it's last gen.
Yeah, it's old news.
That's
man.
so last season.
I think I'm rocking like a 9900K, so getting pretty old there.
Oh, it's yeah. I have an i9 9900K, and I feel that thing's still pretty hefty. It's a
beast.
hardy processor.
Yeah, I don't plan on changing anytime soon.
I just wish it wasn't on a 120 push pull.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
It's on a one. That's why the thing gets so hot, is because it's a push pull. And I mean, the glass side is open like this. It's hanging off slightly so that it can vent fresh air in. Those tubes get so hot to touch. It's absurd. All right, so back to the build at hand. I know we get to talking. We've got the AIO installed, and we're working on getting all the cabling through. Now, with the fans that are mounted to the back of the case, those extra 3 intakes that are right there next to the motherboard, does that change the way that you have to go about the cable management?
Yeah, a little bit. It might be hard to see. So I kind of tucked this cable, the power cable for the fan. I tucked it behind the fan instead of just running it across into these grommets.
Okay.
So yeah, you don't have that white cable just going across. I put it behind the fan instead.
Okay.
So on the back, that's going to give me these 3 extra cables on the back, which isn't a big deal. I can just bring it down and run it along with this bundle that I do down here.
Gotcha.
So, not a big deal. Changes it up very slightly, but nothing crazy.
Definitely overwhelming when you look and see so many cables and so many cords.
Yeah, there it is.
So, Rowdy asks, I have one last question. If I upgrade my CPU to absolutely newest one, but pair it with my current 2070 Super GPU, will I notice a difference, and will it be compatible?
Yeah, so what you're going to have to look at there, if you're going to upgrade your CPU to something current gen, you're going to have to change your motherboard as well. Now you could still, I don't know what CPU you have currently, but you could still upgrade your CPU. You would just have to make sure it's the same socket as what you currently have now, so that it would fit into your motherboard. But let's just say you have a few gen older CPU, you want to come with current gen, so you get a motherboard that matches that CPU, and you want to pair that with your 2070 Super. Your 2070 Super is still a really good card. So depending on what games you're playing, you will see a performance increase going with that CPU. But I don't think your 2070 Super would be like a bottleneck yet. It depends on if you're doing like 4K, AAA titles, then maybe. But any normal stuff, no, it would still be good. That's still a really good card.
Yeah. Roddy says, I have the i7 10900K.
10900K. Okay, yeah. So if you were going to come up to 13th gen when that drops, on Intel side, you would need to get a new motherboard with the matching chipset. You probably want to look at RAM too. We'll see when 13th gen comes out. Maybe they're DDR5 only, whereas your 10900K is a DDR4. So you might have to buy RAM as well. But we have seen boards that for the same chipset that are DDR5 and DDR4. So that's another thing to look at too, while we're in this kind of transition from DDR4 to DDR5.
Which is the interesting thing about about this board. This is one of those boards that's DDR5 only. So
yeah, and this could be a really good indicator of what's to come. Maybe this will make DDR5 a little bit more normalized. If that's what AM5 is going to be.
Yeah,
that's what we'll start seeing. We have had DDR4 for a while.
Yes, we have.
I remember when I started here, we were DDR3, so it's been through a few.
Wow.
Been here for a while, Paul.
I know.
There we go. All right, while he's working on that cable management and getting that through there, that's going to be my message. Do this. Let's take a look at our website and show you a little bit about what you can choose when it comes to your motherboard and everything else that goes on. At clxgaming.com, we make it as easy as possible for you to choose the right build for you. It is absolutely important for you to understand that you don't have to understand everything about PCs. We've got a built-in conflict solution element in there, so that if you pick something that's not necessarily compatible with another part, it will have a giant icon that says solve conflicts, and it'll give you the options to be able to do that. The best part about this is it allows you the autonomy to select the pieces and elements and items that you want in your PC, make it your own, and most importantly, design it to meet your needs. Every content creator is different, and these machines are great for a lot more than just content creation. Everything from video to audio editing, architecture, and design. These PCs have the ability to fit so many needs, and they can do it all at once. Don't worry, it's not just your custom builds that we have. We also have pre-builds that are ready to ship at a moment's notice. We even have laptops, an entire array of peripherals available in the back end, and you can choose how you manage your warranty, how you manage your service contracts, everything right from there. Speaking of which, all of our PCs come with, the very base, a 1-year part and lifetime labor and technical support. So if anything goes wrong in the first year, you got it covered. Forever, you can call in and say, hey, I've got this build and this is a problem. How can I help? How can I get help? And boom, they will be able to do that all the time. You can get up to 3-year parts on your warranty, depending on the package that you decide to get. All of this is available and more, including custom builds and designs with unique and different takes from art styles all over. For more information on how you can step up your game, head on over to clxgaming.com. There we go. Listen to that commercialization. Now, one thing I do find interesting that I did not know, those raw Elite towers, I did not know they come in colors. That's kind of super wicked.
Yeah, we've seen probably our favorite Elites that we see are the Space Case ones.
Oh, definitely.
Dave, our painter, does some really awesome custom paint designs on there.
Yeah, these are wicked. Absolutely wicked.
It's such a big surface as well that you can really get just a really cool image on there. And the whole back panel gets painted as well, which is, I mean, that thing is
nice.
giant. It's, obviously bigger than this case.
Yeah, and those custom designs, if we could drop a link in the chat, the custom designs, you can check out what we've got already, from the Sakura to others. The Sakura is the latest one. We've also got the Vice edition. There we go. Mm-hmm. I was like, can we say Vice? Yes, we just can't say Miami Vice. There we go. Although I just did. I'm a terrible person.
Oops.
But it's got a great 80s theme to it. I love it. It is a beautiful design.
Yeah, the Vice looks right. I think we have done a Vice on the show. if I remember right. I think we've done one
Yeah.
Vice. We've done a lot of Raws, and I think the past 2 were the Sakura. So check out the old videos if you want to see what those are, what those look like.
I think it was a Horus. We did a mid-tower Horus with the Vice, I want to say. It was either that or a Scarab. No, it was a Horus.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see. I thought it was a Raw.
It might also be.
No, I was well
We've done a lot.
No.
And there it is. Ivory just posted the link. It's the CLX Special Editions. You can check those out and see how you can customize to fit that to be your bestie. Okay, so right now, Kristen's back there tying everything up. Let's talk a little bit about what the process goes into that and some considerations for people when they are working with such a unique layout.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody probably has a little different of a process. What I like to do, especially with this case in particular, I like to start off with my case cables, USB 3.0, Type-C, HD audio, front panel headers, all that stuff. That's going to be all right here. So I like to get this run down and get this little bin going down here. And then I'll move on over here into my fan wires. I'll get all my fan wires and SATA cables kind of tidied up. I pre-ran these CPU cables over here, but I won't worry about these right now. So I like to break it up into segments, get all of this done first, and then I'll put my power supply in, get the power supply cables ran, and by then we're good. It should be all good.
Sweet.
It's good to go.
And as always, and I know we say this every week, but it's important for those people who have never thought about it. If you are going to be upgrading your devices or trading, changing something out, changing out a graphics card, changing out a fan, maybe you've got a bearing that went bad, take a picture of the way the cable management is designed and laid out in your system when you pull the back off. And the reason you want to do this is so that once you get the new piece installed and you get everything routed and you plugged it into power, you can return the cables to the way that they were before you started taking things apart. The reason for that is because, and especially with a design like this, where we've got those extra 3 intake fans, you want to make sure that you don't end up obstructing the flow of air. You also want to make sure that you don't have anything accidentally touching the fan blades, because that will be a sound that will make you want to cry. And yeah, it's a thing. and it's funny because no matter what, whether something's touching a blade, whether a bearing goes out, the worst sound. That's the other thing that sounds terrible. If a bearing starts to go out in your fan, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's bad. What are the easiest ways to fix a bad bearing in a fan?
So you're probably just going to want to buy a new fan. Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
Getting into rebuilding one, you'd have to talk to the manufacturer of the fan. It'd probably be more hassle than what it's worth.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, so we're getting those up there and getting ready for that modular power supply. Let's talk a little bit about our power supply.
Yeah.
So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we've got a fully modular power supply here. Fully modular meaning there is no cables that are soldered into this that are coming out of it. You have modular, non-modular, and then semi-modular. Like I said before, this is a fully modular. A non-modular would mean all these power supply cables here are already soldered in and are running out. So some advantage of going fully modular versus non-modular are that we only need to use the cables that are necessary for the build. So we won't have any other cables there that Christian is going to have to deal with when he's cleaning it up. And having extra cables can also have obstructions for airflow. So those are all reasons why going with fully modular is definitely what you want to do. If budget is a concern and you are trying to save a few bucks, definitely a non-modular power supply is a good way to go. You still get one with the right wattage and the right rating. But yeah, it's a good area to save some money that won't affect performance too much.
Yeah. There we go.
This is an 80 plus gold. So what that refers to is the efficiency rating of the power supply. There's 5 or 6 different ratings of 80 plus, but it starts out just 80 plus, no color. Then you've got 80 plus bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and titanium. And all those refer to is the efficiency of the power supply, how much power is coming out of the wall versus how much that your computer is using. So you'll see on mining rigs is especially where you see like the 80 plus titanium power supplies, because it's all about, you know, efficiency and how much money you're making in crypto versus how much you're using to run the GPUs. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I noticed on our site we do offer all the way up to the tough power 80 plus titanium, which is a ridiculous item.
Yeah, it's a
There's a
beast of
1600 watt supernova 80 plus titanium. It seems excessive, but I can also see why you'd need something that strong, especially if you're building out you know, a large production server machine. So
yeah, for sure. We always like seeing those too, because we hardly ever see a 1600 watt get used here, so it's always kind of fun when you get this giant like briefcase box that your power supply is in.
Yeah, right. Let's see here. All right, we're about ready to get those ready for the cords to go for the power supply.
Yeah, so
Any
Christian
consideration?
has already ran his CPU power cables for the power supply, and he's got his SATA power in there too. So that's just another advantage of the fully modular design. So he can have all those cables routed and managed without even having the power supply installed in the case.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah. And this Phanteks is also an RGB power supply.
I don't believe it is.
I was about to
Is
say,
it not?
It's definitely not around the blades. There might be a ring in there we can see when we get it on, but I don't believe it is.
I think it is.
Interesting.
I could be wrong.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different one. There we go. Not that you necessarily need RGB in your power supply. If it's lighting up, that's oftentimes distracting in case it were to, you know, light up for wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's flaming.
Right?
Cool. Yeah.
That's just my RGB setup.
Yeah, that's my RGB. Yeah.
It's great. I can light candles with my power supply.
Yeah.
What?
Oh no.
Ivory says our new project goal is to fit a 1600 watt and a 1600 watt power supply and two 4090s into a Scarab.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You're gonna be shoving that in with your feet. It's just
Okay.
absurd. Now, as far as the 3090 goes, which we're getting ready to probably get in there fairly soon, as far as size is considered, comparatively, how much heavier is it than the 3080s?
So I feel like it is pretty heavier, and that's also going to depend on the cooler that's attached to the video card here. You can see we've got a pretty beefy cooler on this one, so this one does have a lot of weight. So comparing this to like a 3080 Founders, this is going to be considerably heavier. But I'm sure that there are some Gigabyte Aorus coolers on a 3080 that would be similar in weight.
Now, what up? Nicole's here. Yay. Here's the next question. When you're talking about those coolers, is there an advantage, say, if you compare the performance of that to the Founders Edition, same card, just different coolers, is there going to be a noticeable performance difference?
Yeah, so usually there will be, and that'll also depend on which aftermarket one you're going with. Typically, Gigabyte or MSI or Zotac, any of those other brands that put their own coolers on the cards, they do overclock it somewhat, or at least have the base clock raised slightly. So your base clock will probably be higher than a Founders Edition. And then if the cooling solution is also better than what's on a Founders card, it's going to be able to boost up higher than it regularly would.
Interesting things to think about, people. Very interesting things to think about. Dig it.
Yeah.
All right. Christian, walk us through what you're up to right now.
trying to get this bad boy timed down as much as I can. Just talking about the weight that this thing has. This is a beast of a card. So I got the card in there now, and I just need to do my final tie up.
Alrighty.
24
That is a
PCIe in.
giant card.
Isn't that ridiculous?
So now with the fans on the bottom, obviously it's going to be sucking air in to cool the card off. So it's basically a directed flow of air. You've got the 3 fans on the bottom. They're blowing up. They're blowing up air into it, bringing it in from the bottom where it's cooler, pushing it straight into those fans on the 3090. So it keeps that card cool, while also getting the 3 on the back, pulling air in and refreshing that as well, getting that all pumped up so you can get a lot of cooler air up through that radiator to keep the processor cool. It's a really interesting design layout.
Yeah, I really like this case design really for the video card, because you're getting all the fresh air at the bottom that's going directly to the video card. So like it's almost as good as your video card being the intake, you know, where it's just nice fresh air.
Liquid Feet's loved the fact they ran an Intel ad right before you should start watching the AMD build. That is a thing. And Liquid Feet also wants to know, Christian, when are you getting a sleeve like P-Steps?
That's a good question, man. I've been talking about it. I want to go. I want to go visit your dude, but
You should.
yeah,
Go down there.
I need to. I just spend my money on other stupid stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's just time and money.
I do want
Get
to
poked a
get
lot.
tatted up though.
Yeah. It's fun. I'm overdue. I was going to go this weekend, but I didn't do it. So, soon.
I keep going back and forth with what I want on my tattoos. But I do know at some point I want my QR code.
That'd be pretty sick.
Right. So if I don't have a business card on me, I can just hold my arm out. There's a QR code, so you can just scan it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was pretty, I don't know what the right word is, careful on what I picked at the beginning. And then once I started going, I was just like, I don't know, go into the shop and pick something off the wall. So I'm like, that looks cool. I like that. Rolling with that. And that's been pretty good. I'm not I'm not very much of an artist myself. Like, I'm not good at drawing or anything like that. So it's kind of my way of being into art.
I want to show off this screen, so that's why kind of doing this funky thing with the PCIe.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So interestingly, I've been fascinated by what you mentioned about the different way that the processor is laid out, the contact points, as opposed to being pinned. It's not. And so while we've been talking, I've been looking at some things on here, and it's really impressive how this all functions. I remember when I put my i7 into my board. In fact, I've also put my AMD onto the board. But you know, you have to make sure it's all in the right spot, and you just want to drop it in. You don't want to force the pins because you don't want to touch them or anything. This seems like a much safer option for handling your CPU.
Yeah,
less room for error.
It is safer when handling the CPU, as far as, like, you know, if you are, you know, you actually like drop it from, you know, not that high up, just like on the table. If you do have pins on there, it is going to bend those pins. But it's kind of a catch-22, because now when you're installing that, it's a lot easier to damage those motherboard pins. So it's a little bit safer when you're handling the CPU, but when you're installing it, that's when it can be a little scarier.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have pins on the CPU, you know it's just going into those holes on the motherboard. So yeah.
So an interesting little tidbit on this motherboard that we've got. Again, it is the X670E Aorus Master version 1. That the onboard graphics for the processor, or for the motherboard, allows for the DisplayPort to actually push out at a full 3840 by 2160 at 144 hertz, all on its own.
that is impressive.
That's insane.
It supports DisplayPort 1.4 and HDR. The USB Type-C combo port It also has the same max resolution at 144 hertz, also 1.4 in HDR, and then the HDMI port is a full 4096 by 2160 at 60 hertz. So I'm hilariously impressed with the fact that the motherboard itself, has this many graphics options on it.
Yeah, that's really impressive to me.
And again, that's based just on the onboard graphics for the processor, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Now that's probably referring to just like display on a monitor, not necessarily like gaming on it, gaming at this.
Right.
But that, I mean, it's still really impressive. I think it's kind of a mark of the future here, and that'll slowly kind of become the standard as time goes on.
Yeah, which is impressive.
Yeah.
Good Pete says the cake is a lie. And at the moment, the 7 series is the 7000 series processors. That's the top of the range for them at the moment, correct?
That's the newest, yeah.
Okay. Well, it'll be fun to test out and hear back, once you've done some testing, and maybe we'll talk about that at next week's show.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. No. Yeah? Are we going to be... Yeah, so next week we'll be just coming back from TwitchCon.
From TwitchCon, yeah, I guess it is already almost here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm looking at the dates like, huh. So
if we're here, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about it, on our next show, whenever that may be.
Yeah.
Also, Liquid Pete says, side note, Intel 12th Gen supports up to 7680 by 4320 at 60 frames per second, or 60 hertz. Jeez, that is a lot of it's a lot of pixels. It's a lot of pixels. It's also a lot of processing power.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, who knows? Maybe next week if we're doing a customer build, maybe a customer will order one of these. That'd be kind of cool to do another one.
Get your
for a
order
customer.
in now.
That'd be sick.
I am intrigued by the Bluetooth 5.3, what the advantages are of that over 5.2, or if it's just an increase for functionality.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on the most recent Bluetooth specs, but I would assume it's probably, maybe a little bit better range, better speeds and all that. I don't really use Bluetooth that much at home. I have a wired headset, wired keyboard, mouse, all that, so.
Xbox Insider 1 in the house. Hello, welcome. Good to have you here. I'm looking through the stats here, and so I use Bluetooth for when I'm traveling. I have a pair of Bose that I absolutely love, and it's good because they're noise canceling, and I can connect to things. I will say I was recently attempting to DJ with Bluetooth headphones, and it is so far seemingly impossible.
Oh, really?
Well, for some reason, well, it's not even for some reason, it's Bluetooth. There's just enough of a delay in the sound hitting my headphones compared to when I'm touching the turntables, or when I'm manually, playing with the music. When I'm physically interacting with the music, speeding it up, slowing it down, I need that instantly to be recognized, and that to come
can't
through.
be a delay there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it was disappointing. So I'm like, well, that throws out so many different Bluetooth headphones. But I do DJ in wireless headphones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically
and that's
instant.
fine. Huh.
I regularly DJ in Astro A50s.
Oh, okay.
Because
I have a pair of those.
Yeah, with the base station plugged in, you get zero delay on them, and for me, I'm always bouncing around so much that I don't have to risk accidentally yanking the headphone jack out of the mixer.
Yeah.
Which is an extremely expensive thing to have to fix.
I really like my A50s. I just had them for so long that the battery is not lasting too long, and so I switched back to a wired one.
Yeah, the new ones have got great battery life.
Yeah, they've definitely been my favorite headset that I've used so far.
Speaking of things that you can attach and use wired or wireless, let's talk real quick. We uncovered the ports on the front of the O11.
Yeah. So we've got a few USB slots here. There's 2 at the bottom that are easily missed there, and then we've got 2 here, our headset mic, and our Type-C connector there. And we've got our power button, RGB button, and reset switch there.
Oh, nice.
Christian has finished up the tie-up here, so we're slapping the panels on, and we'll be good to go.
Alrighty. Well, that was. This is gonna be fun. I can't wait to see how this lights up.
Yeah, we're gonna do the fun part and pull the plastic off. Maybe look at that.
Right. ASMR. Does anybody else enjoy that?
This thing is on there.
Yeah. Now, ironically, I still have that coating on my touch screens for my DJ gear.
I just peeled it off my TV at home. I didn't even know it was on there, and I was cleaning it, and it was like the whole plastic. I'm like, I've had this TV for like 4 years. Did not know it was on there. Yeah.
Brand new TV now.
Yeah. For real.
Did you notice it when did you pull it off?
Yeah, I did. It was a really.
Did you notice
really
a
thin
change in
strip.
picture?
No, sorry, no, it wasn't around the screen. It was just around the perimeter of it.
Oh god,
that
okay,
would be
I thought it was
hilarious.
like the one on the screen. I'm
around
like,
the screen.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
No, sorry, I didn't do that. Please, that would be so funny. This screen is so dirty. Yeah. So, yeah. All right, I got that thing
Like,
somewhat.
I feel like I have
down.
cataracts. Nope, you just have frost on it. One other great point of this is the ease of use and access to pull your sides on and off. Unlike other builds where there's holes and screws, this literally is just line it up, drop it down.
Yeah, this is just another thing we really like about this case. These slide panels just slide in, and then the top panel is what secures them in there. So you don't have to worry about them sliding out once you get that top panel on.
Yeah, which I like. I think it looks cleaner. It doesn't look as bulky as having the main screws top mounted. So
We've got one more clear plastic piece to pull off here. We'll be good to go. Man, that does look good.
Yeah.
very clean.
These are the strongest plastic pieces I've pulled off.
It's just on there.
All righty.
Boop. And there it goes. Ish.
Maybe.
Ta-da! There we go.
When you're doing it backwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get my greasy fingers on there.
Pop that top on, and there we go.
All right. I think we got a power cable right here. Thank you, Jason. Thought I had it up.
Okay.
Let's see what this baby can do.
All right.
Get it turned on and show the world.
All righty. Knowing the truth. All right. I think we're good to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Oh, wow. That's gorgeous. Once again, let's take a look at this beautiful machine. This is an 011 white case. It is a raw edition. This machine is exceedingly powerful for the internal testing and usage of the show. It is a Ryzen 9 7950X 16-core processor mounted to a Gigabyte X670E Aorus master motherboard. It has 32 gigs of DDR5 5600 RAM. It's got an RTX 3090 graphics card powering it. What a beast. It's got a 1 terabyte Samsung 980 Pro, which, as we discussed, has just insanely fast read speeds and write speeds. It's being cooled by a Phanteks Glacier 1 360 RGB AIO liquid cooler. It has 10 Gamdias RGB fans in there with, of course, the 1000 watt Phanteks AMP Series 80 Plus Gold power supply. And this does not come with a sarcophagus because you're just carrying it out to the back. Normally, our raw editions do come delivered in a sarcophagus packaging. But once again, we're going to be doing this for testing purposes, and I'm excited to hear what the results are.
Yeah, we're both super excited to get this thing in the lab and see what we can get it to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's so colorful. So pretty.
It's such a good build. It looks great.
Well, and it's interesting how much those 3 side mount fans, the back mount fans, make a difference when it comes to the lighting of the internals.
Yeah, they really do. You don't really notice it when they're not there, but having them there, they look really good. Yeah. Adds a lot of light.
I dig it. All right, final thoughts, gentlemen.
Not much. I mean, just like I said, we're excited about it. Yeah.
Right. I'll be glad to hear this. Hear about it when you once you got started testing it.
Yeah.
You can find out more about us right here and check out previous episodes right here at CLX Gaming TV on Twitch. You can also follow us at CLX Gaming on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. Check us out, and don't forget, if you want to order your PC or at least start looking at what you want to consider for your next upgrade, check us out at clxgaming.com. On behalf of Jason in production, Christian, and Paul, I'm DJ BluePDX. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.
You just caught 24K Golden's new video. Keep watching even as you text about it. Don't miss a beat when you multitask on mobile. Try YouTube Premium on us.